Welcome to Vakhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Let's talk about photosynthesis, the synthesis of carbohydrates. My dharma is the impeccable wisdom, Akhandata. My greatest discovery is Divya, the divine design of nature, which with perfect objects are designed, created, developed, and matured. In the light of that, we would like to see photosynthesis in a presentation which is all inclusive. As I have been saying very clearly, we should have mathematical design which is perfect from the core, and also at the same time convert the mathematical design into symbolic presentation which world can see and remember for generation together. The ambiguity of the different languages of the world, irrespective of different languages, they have inadequate words, letters, as well as ambiguity. To minimize, we need to convert into symbolic form which is in one. This particular symbol represents Divyank. The outer one is 22 by 21. That is cell and its expansion. Then 10 stages of development through which everything is developed, which is 10 pentagons. Then 5 tetragons are the 1.34419, the third stage of maturation. That is the kind of symbolic language which I am interested in knowing the world for perfection to the core. This particular symbol by and large represents entire universe, A to Z, macrocosmic to microcosmic to the mini-cosmic, from spiral galaxy to solar system to the perfect human body to atomic structure, right into sodium chloride, atoms, elements and molecules and cells. That kind of integration where we have everything in one, and this has taken me 20 years from 1995 when I made Gayatri card, and 2015 is when Divyank was found. In the light of Divyank, this has been modified to make sure everything which everybody needs to know about maths, physics, chemistry, biology and all the 64 arts are present in this particular form completely. And I'm glad I've been able to start something others can modify and add to bring ambiguity to every subject which is taught to every student from school, college to the university throughout the world without any confusion, without any problem. Let there be uniform syllabus, knowledge, detail, with impeccable wisdom which nobody can find fault, with a new symbolic language like Akhand. Now I have one thing I'm very clear. Entire objective of my videos, my research is to make perfect human beings. Unless until all the perfect human beings are perfect to the core, to the dynamism throughout the world, and we become Lokpalan, our guardians and custodians, we cannot expect uniform, universal world peace, which is my objective. I want the world, everybody to be enlightened, everybody to be perfect, so the world is perfect for everybody. For that, I have certain objective which I follow, and I'm sharing with the world what I want. So number one is perfect physical health is absolutely essential for everyone. That's one. And you should be free from all the diseases, whatsoever it is. You should not fall sick for anything and everything at any stage. That should be the objective. Third should be perfect emotional stability. You should be so stable without any likes and dislikes. You can create the entire universe as your own. You should be like a living God. And that is the emotional stability without any likes and likes, doing everything possible for everybody to be together as we are like living God to make the world a world peace. The fourth stage, which I make it very clear, we need a material wealth and prosperity of the highest order, because only with the prosperity we can have the world peace. In a poverty, get, forget is not the use. You should be give and forgive, like Lord Surya, our sun, and that should be the objective. That can come only with education. That is the reason I always keep talking about Vidya Dadati Vinyam. Perfect, right education, impeccable reason makes you very humble. When you are perfectly humble, you create a casteless society. I want the casteless society. I don't want anybody to be different. But depending upon your skill, you play your role very well. When everybody, according to their skills, play their role, they can produce lot of abundance of wealth, prosperity for everybody. But everybody is earning because of the script, whatever they're adding it. And with that, we can have righteousness, we can have comforts for everybody. So everybody has to think, do best in the script, be the best, because we do need different people at different things. Core is the one takes a decision. Implication done by others. So nobody is below, nobody is higher. That is the kind of unity or caste we need for the universe peace. Then we have abundance of impeccable wisdom, which is any fault. We should have respect for all the religion, but get the best for a religion which is good for everybody. There is no divide and rule. Everybody is good is what is required. Then we should have commitment to social society. We should make sure that everybody is educated, everybody gets good health, everybody gets good food, everybody gets everything. Script is clean and neat from inside outside, and that is what Akhand Vidya and Akhand Sutra and Akhand Yoga is all about. All those principles. Then as a result, there is a living divine consciousness within all of us. We should be in a position to experience the self, and self will never tell you a lie. And that will lead to the truthful, honest life without any ambiguity whatsoever. We need that kind of humanity. Then we need eternal, blissful, living consciousness for self as well as everybody else. We should be shoulder to shoulder, help everybody become perfect, prevent all the problems, curtail aging and reverse aging. That is what I am talking about. And what are the different reasons for that? The reasons are very clear. But ignorance is one thing which is the root cause. If you want to have a disease-free life, we should have perfect knowledge. We should not be ignorant. And we are not giving that kind of knowledge to every child, every student, every research scholar through the world. Some people are given different knowledge. Some people are deprived of even ABC. I want this particular thing to be given to everybody free, love of it. If they have the knowledge of this kind, then only we can expect uniformity. We need a right knowledge. We should not have any defects. We should know perfect anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, all the subjects. And that is the objective of this particular video or all the videos of mine. We want universal syllabus. And in that light, we are going to talk about photosynthesis, or how plants produce food for us. Now, Kalpa Briksha is one of the old things which was talked about from churning of ocean, Sagar Manthan, Samudra Manthan. But in that particular thing, what I understand, Kalpa means vision, Vriksha is a tree. But in that particular picture, what I understand, roots were in the heaven and branches were down. That is also something which I like to bring now. Ancient Indian wisdom to start with, then modern science, then applied science, and then complete picture in a way that we have a complete knowledge of photosynthesis. Now, let's say genesis of biochemistry. I have already spoken about universe universe before the creation was filled with isomers neon 21. They collided to form 22. There were effulgence. With that light, all the 10 stages of Panchbhutas and came down, and we have all the atoms, elements, molecules, compounds in the earth from the universe which fell through rain. All was brought down rain or Indraghat. And now from the ocean, all the biological had started. Now, science of biochemistry evolved from atom, elements, molecules and organic compounds. Carbon played a very important role, and these are the things which are produced in the plant now have brought the plant together as the plant you see on the earth. The one was when it brought it down. Now the one which is going to give us what we are looking forward to. Now, I would like to make one statement very clear. We have sun in the middle, which produces all the energy. It only knows the art of give and forgive. Aditya, sun, in my understanding, is hydrogen, and from hydrogen is helium formed in the sun, and helium can be called the mother of sun, daughter of the sun. Their reaction, I have already spoken about it. The one indwelling soul we have was produced in the sun, came down and got into us, and is the one which gives us all the knowledge of sun, spiral glass, and all the wisdom of Akash Kosh. Medium, our Guru, the one who can give us complete, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent knowledge, is our indwelling soul. And we see helium 4. I can call it Aditi, I can call it Kundalini, I can call it Antaratma, I can call it soul, I can call it self. There are different expressions for different things. Doesn't matter. The indwelling soul is our real Guru, is that. Now to start from that knowledge, I know there are 4 big planets, inner planets, which are close to the sun. The first one, left side, you can see is Mercury. Then you have Venus. Then you have Earth. And you have Mars. And I am making it very clear to start with, before life started on Earth, these planets were filled with 97% carbon dioxide only, including Earth. Then plants, when started developing, carbon dioxide was used from the Earth by the plants and converted into 21% oxygen, which we have today around the Earth in the atmosphere. At the same time, remaining nitrogen was converted into 78% and remaining gases. That's the beauty. And how nitrogen was formed is again carbon plus hydrogen form nitrogen. And I'm going to talk about that also in the process, what happened, so that we can have a complete knowledge. Now let's talk about the divine periodic table. As I've been saying, there are trinity, 3 elements, the 3 elements which play very important in photosynthesis part 1 is hydrogen, carbon and oxygen. And soul, of course, is the helium 4. And first 3 inorganic molecules which play a very important role is methane, water and carbon dioxide. Methane has a power of 10, water has a power of 10, carbon dioxide has a power of 22. Now in the light of Divya, I can say the pattern is seen from the very beginning itself. Now first atom is hydrogen, as I told you, that is Aditya and sun. This is the most common thing in the universe, and everything comes from there. Everything was formed from the union of hydrogen, and it plays a very important role in all the powers which we have. I have already spoken about it. Now we go to the next one. The 4th greatest element is carbon, because I am talking about carbon is something which is important for organic matter. There is no organic matter without carbon. And this is the 4th element with 6 protons, 6 neutrons and 6 electrons. And it is inert tetravalent non-metal element and can produce all the kind of formulas which we read. And the first formula which is formed by carbon and hydrogen is methane. That is something which I want to, and that was recognized from ocean as Kamadhenu. Then you have the carbon atoms, and it's an absolutely essential biomarker for life spent so far on Earth. That's one part. Next, as I told you, carbon and hydrogen got together to form one, and this is the first reaction which took place in nature, in the universe, and that is power of 10. I have already shown about it. The 3rd element was Agni and oxygen, from carbon, hydrogen, carbon, then oxygen, and this is a highly non-reactive non-metal. It can be beautiful compounds, and oxygen atmosphere is 21%. 40% mass of ATP, which is energy molecule within the human body, is made of oxygen. So that way, this is very important. This plays very important role in producing ATP from lipids and fats in the body. And we cannot live without any oxygen whatsoever is also. All of us are aerobic, and we are talking about human beings. I'm not talking about other anaerobic ones. Then hydrogen plus oxygen formed water. It has also got the power of 10. And entire universe, this is 61.8034%. And ancient scriptures make it very clear. The first thing was water. Everything came along with the water down in the form of thunder, rain, and things like that. So that King Indra, who is the king of gods, is the thunder god, is the rain god. It can brought everything down in water. So water plays very important role in bringing even methane and other things from top down. Is highly volatile, perfect to the core. I have already spoken in my last video. We need not repeat to that detail. Then third molecule, which is very important in carbon dioxide, now you see a reaction between methane plus oxygen gives to carbon dioxide and water. This is the most important thing, reaction which took place in the nature to form carbon dioxide and water to start with, but subsequently use of carbon dioxide and hydrogen through photosynthesis. The water was converted into oxygen and carbon dioxide was converted into carbohydrates. That is also a distinction which I want to make it very clear. It was the water which gave oxygen. It was the carbon dioxide which gave carbohydrate. Once that is understood, we'll understand the beauty of nature beautifully, and that is innate chemistry to biochemistry to biology by and large. But beauty in this particular thing, carbon dioxide has a power of 22. 6 of carbon and 2 in 8 of oxygen to give it 22. This is again with Divyank. Now, from that angle, let's move on to the next plane. And then spiritual science of Kamadhenu, as I told you, water is Amrit, Kamadhenu is methane gas. How methane is converted into carbon dioxide is very clear picture here in this particular thing. Now we come to the plant kingdom. Now, as I told you, we are the human beings. Our life started from mineral kingdom. Atoms, elements, molecules, compounds, this. Then formed the plant kingdom first. Mineral kingdom to plant kingdom to the animal kingdom. Animal kingdom came after the plant kingdom because plants only restored carbon dioxide into oxygen to make it livable for all of us who are aerobic in nature. Whatever other life would have been, let's forget about it. But in this particular picture, you can see a tree which has grown from a seed, and seed is made of 21 parts. Under under compound microscope, you can see 3: cell membrane, cytoplasm, and nucleus. But under electron microscope, you can see 21. Each one is made of 7 parts. And to give life, the water is given to the seed along with the atmospheric pressure to convert into 2. So that proves it. 22 by 21 is the first stage of generation or creation. And that was what ancient Indians called it, Lord Brahma, Lord of Creator. So that is clear on one side. Now let's move on to the next stage. Now this is difference between two. Plant cells you can see on the left side and animal cell on the right side. This is the structure you can see, and whole is a beautiful structure to start with. Now I am going to show you under a compound microscope. You can only 3 parts. Upper part is the cell membrane, middle is the cytoplasm, third is the nucleus. But under electron microscope you can see 7 parts in cell membrane and 7 organelles in the cytoplasm which play a very important role, and then nucleus with 7 parts, which so cell wise otherwise descriptions are, but here I would like to say bipolar cell membrane avoids water coming from outside inside and inside going out, is a great shield for the cell. And why is bipolar? You have a phospholipid things. Outer one as inner one has phosphate, which is hydrophilic, whereas the lipid content inside is hydrophobic. And that is the kind of knowledge is required for everybody to understand how we understand cells, whether it's plant cells or animal cells, to make a difference. And organelle, we have 7 parts, which we will talk about it as we proceed, and then next. But there is one part after 21 which becomes 2 at the time of division, is centrosome. And centrosome divides into 2 centrioles and division of cells takes place. And that is definitely is seen everywhere, including in animal kingdom particularly. Now in this particular, you can see the different parts of the cell, plant cell. You can see the outer green is cell membrane, cytoplasm is lighter green, that is cell membrane green, and you can see chloroplast, you can see Golgi apparatus, you can see peroxisome, endoplasmic mitochondria, etc., which are absolutely essential. These are almost 7 parts are common between human cells and this. But chloroplast is seen in plant cells, not in animal cells, because animal cells cannot produce synthesize carbohydrate or protein or lipids the way it is produced in plant kingdom. So for that, chloroplast, green cell, plays very important role. That's one part. Now, green pigment chloroplast is essential for photosynthesis in plant kingdom. Because of this, we get light from the sun, which is brought together to convert water into oxygen and carbon dioxide into carbohydrate. These are the reactions which take place in chloroplast, and depending upon the color, you can see the differences by and large. And now here I would definitely give you ancient Indian wisdom, how they were aware of something thousands and thousands of years back, which modern science has recognized through experiments over a period, now bringing ancient science and modern science together to create spiritual science. Before proceeding to something, I want to make one thing very clear. There is one tree called banyan or people tree, Ficus religiosa, which is the only plant which can produce oxygen 24 hours. That's it. And the shape of that is like a divyank. What you can see in my body on the other side, length and breadth is in divyank. And it's so beautiful. You can see all the structure you see in human body, Ida, Pingala, Sushmana Nadi and other nadis, and the structure, and you can see the same kind of structure within banyan tree or people tree or ficus tree. So this is one thing which can produce oxygen 24 hours. No wonder this is considered very religious tree. Even Buddha sat under this banyan tree and got enlightenment. And we should have this everywhere so that the supply of oxygen is 24/7 for everyone to be a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy beings. Now I'm going to show you something. If you take light of sun, which can give into 7 things, Viv Gyar. Viv is violet, R is red. There are 2 things, blue and red. That will mean early morning you have ultraviolet rays, and the evening when sun sets you have red lights. And the one in the morning is called Brahmani, in the evening is called Rudrani. These 2 are the spaces where maximum amount of oxygen is produced. I am talking about others. And the one which can produce at night, the one who take red light and concentration. This particular result of modern science is very clear, and how they had experimented that is also something which I like to share now. They exposed different spectrums of light and kept aerobic organisms all round. The organisms which were near ultraviolet light and the organisms which are near red light, they grew in number where other did not grow. And that is the scientific research which proves it. Ultraviolet and infrared is the one which produces maximum amount of oxygen, because only organisms which are there can survive, reproduce and go on. That was a beautiful experiment, and I want everybody to have that kind of detailed knowledge to understand photosynthesis very, very clearly. Now, ancient Indian, I have already gone. The first thing which a symbol I made was 1995. While explaining this particular symbol in 96, I made it very clear. Gayatri mantra has to be chanted 3 times. The early morning 6 a.m., which is called Brahmani, 12 o'clock facing north called Vaishnavi, and evening 6 p.m. facing west called Rudrani, which is red light, which is ultralight. Morning and evening, those lights can produce more oxygen from all the different plants. But of course, Benentin can produce throughout. But someone can produce more at night. Now we need. Now this is ancient Indian wisdom, which I described much before I started reading about it. And I said, now this is wonder. Now these are the different plants which can produce oxygen at night. That means they are close to infrared or even darkness. And the one which stands out is snake plant, very good, spider plant, golden pothos, then aloe vera, etc. These are the 10 plants which are well known, can be used at home to produce more oxygen at home, because they can produce oxygen even without oxygen, without light itself. Now coming to the question of photosynthesis. Now I am making this particular picture very clear to you. Key in this particular picture of chloroplast. Now I am coming to the chloroplast, chlorosynth. Chlorosynth is a green pigment in the chloroplast cells where real photosynthesis takes place. Now left side you can see the light of sun is falling on light reaction, and right on top you can see the water element coming in. Water element is coming, light is falling on the light reaction, and it produces oxygen. That is one thing which very clear. It is the water is absolutely essential to produce oxygen. That's one thing which I want to know. Clear. Water is the first universal biomolecule from which only oxygen can come. It's a vibrant from A to Z. And we are living only because of water. That's why I called it Amrit also. And earlier, that is description. Now I'm showing all things so integrated that if you see all my videos completely, you will find integration, and that is the Akhindata I'm talking about. Then you will have no confusion whatsoever in having impeccable wisdom for every child throughout the world in uniformity. I'm very clear. I want a uniform syllabus, uniform data, information, knowledge, wisdom, which is impeccable for every child, free of cost, with all the facilities, so that we can create a world peace. If I was into administration, I'll make education free for everyone, right up to PhD level, at the expense of the government, from public money, and that would be my first focus. My second focus, if I was administrator, I would bring health as important, so that everybody is healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. That should also be sponsored by the government, free for everyone. Let everybody get. Let us not make for rich and poor. Everybody, education and health should be free by the government. Government should spend more time for that and not waste things on which are not absolutely essential. These two areas are my first concern. So from here, I can say water is converted into oxygen in light reaction in the presence of light. That's one. At the same time, along with oxygen, it produces ATP, which is energy molecule required for all the secondary reaction by and large. It can also produce NADP2, which is required to convert to NADP for the reaction, symbiotic reaction. Now from water to oxygen is very clear. Light is important, and that is the light reaction. I'm sure everybody is very clear. Now the second thing, which is played is by Calvin cycle, where carbon dioxide from atmosphere is taken and converted into sugar. Now I'm very clear. Let's concentrate on carbohydrate. Why do we call it carbohydrate? It's a carbon with water is hybrid. That's it. CH2O is carbohydrate. That's very clear. Glucose is carbon 6 H12O6. Fructose also is same thing. Then you have pentose, you have tose, you have triose, other things. But let us concentrate on glucose and fructose to start with, how they play important role in making us perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. And that reaction takes place in Calvin cycle. And I'm sure now we are moving from formation of oxygen from water to sugars or carbohydrate for carbon dioxide. I'm sure this is very, very clear now to move to the next stage where how things happen. Let's start. Here you can see on top 3 molecules of carbon dioxide are taken, and there is a first stage called carbon fixation. Carbon is getting fixed, and this is not for detailed for students. Please read it up detail in the books. But remember, first is carbon dioxide, and in the process 6 ATPs are taken. Then I told you 6 ATPs are produced along with formation of oxygen through fixation from sun to water to this. So what ATP is produced is converted to used it up, power is used it up for reaction, and 6 ADP is formed. The second stage is reduction. Then 6 NADH comes to play a role to convert into 6AD, and in the process sugar is formed. And after sugar is formed, glucose comes out. Then come to the next stage of regeneration, to the next stage to start the cycle once again. This is cycle which goes on to produce carbohydrate for carbon dioxide in the presence of ATP, NADH, and that's a beautiful thing, complementary to core. Light converting water into oxygen plus at ATP plus NADP. ADP and NADP takes the carbon dioxide, fixes it, then reduces it, produces carbon dioxide, and then regeneration to cycle. Once that is understood clearly. Now I'll make an attempt to explain to you in one concept in the next slide. Synthesis of glucose in plant, as you can see right on top, you can see carbon dioxide, you can see water together in the picture, then photosynthesis in the plant with the light, and then glucose plus oxygen coming out. So that is symbol of glucose. Now down we see the photosynthesis. There are 7 stages of group synthesis. 6 carbon dioxides and 6 of water molecules put together produce 6 carbon intermediate, and then 6 into triose is 3 carbon sugar, then 6 into glycerate is 1,3-biphosphate, then 6 into glyceraldehyde plus 3-phosphate GAP, and then glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, then 3 into ribulose plus this phosphate, which plays an important role in this particular concept. And if this is understood, let's now understand this even better in the plant kingdom rather than protein kingdom. There will give you much better knowledge to understand the concept much more clearly. Now let's say inside the human cells, you have 2 processes. glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. Glycolysis means how glucose is converted into pyruvic acid or lactic acid over 10 stages, and also how lactic acid or pyruvic acid is converted into glucose for regeneration for the cycle within the human body. That is a beautiful formation. Now let's start from top. You have a glucose. You can see glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate in glycolysis, and glucose 6-phosphate is converted into glucose in glucogenesis. That's one part you can see. Then from up and down, it's getting converted into fructose 6-phosphate. That is reason I keep saying we human beings prefer to be frugal and fructivorous. Even glucose has to be converted into fructivorous 6-phosphate before it can be used. That is reason I keep saying we are fructivorous. If the concentration is more of frugal and fructose, it's much better than glucose as such. Instead of taking refined sugar, you take something which is mild, which is more of a composite fructose. I think things will be better. But of course, excess of anything is bad. But I want to show even glucose is converted into fructose 6-phosphate is something which I want everybody to understand. That is one stage next. Then fructose 2,6-phosphate is one product, and then fructose 1,6 biphosphate is the second product which plays very important role. You can see it very clearly. Fructose 6-phosphate into fructose 1,6-phosphate is the next stage. Then you have another process which produces glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate by and large, and that's it, and that gives you tri 3-phosphate. Now I'm making it clear. What was 6 carbon has become 3 carbons, and tri is 3 carbon intermediate sugar, which I want people to remember. Triose 3 that is a transition from 6 to 3, very important rule. Then how further glyceraldehyde is converted to 3 biphosphate glyceraldehyde, then 3 phosphohydrate, 3 phosphoglycerate, then pyruvinate is converted into pyruvate on one side, which further gets converted into lactose. Now I want to bring one thing very clear. What was 6 carbon sugar converted into 3 carbon sugar intermediate, but through the reaction it gets converted into 3 carbon formula, but it is acidic in nature. There are two types, pyruvic acid and lactic acid, and pyruvic acid is a result of oxygen presence. Aerobic things convert into pyruvic acid, where anaerobic convert into lactic acid. That is also something which I want everybody to understand, how that material is taken to the liver to regenerate again into gluconeogenesis to produce glucose again from lactic acid and pyruvic acid. Now, I'm sure at this particular juncture is very clear. Glucose is the one which we take. It gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate, and that gets converted into fructose 6-phosphate, then converted into 3 carbon triose, and then into acid. If this reaction is known very well, I think the process of oxygen and anoxygen and use is much more clear in animal cells than we see in plant cells. But their process is very defined for producing not only carbohydrate, we also put lipids, we also produce proteins. We will talk about it as we proceed with that. But at this particular juncture, let's clear it. 6 carbon to start with, it breaks down to 3 carbon intermediate, then 3 carbon acid. And all these 10 stages again is something which I want world to understand. We go through 10 stages development. If the first stage is 22 by 21, cell is made of 21 parts and one becomes 22, it grows. Similarly, formation is like that. And I think that should make our job further little more easier, how this is used by plants and animal cells better. Now I'm going to bring you to one thing called homeostasis of glucose, which is important. I make it one thing very clear. Glucose and fructose go hand in hand. And finally, we would check is only glucose. And ideal glucose percent should be 111 milligram per 100 ml of undiluted blood. That is a perfect value. But between 80 and 140, it is also adoptable. Up to 80 milligram as a lower one and 140 that you have nothing to worry about. This is a physiological range, normal range. It gets accommodated automatically through diet control or conversion of glucose into fatty acids or converted into other things. Goes on within the body, there's nothing to worry about. You are perfectly healthy. Ideal is 100 but fasting 80 and postprandial up to 140 is permissible, nothing to worry about, is normal. But come to the next stage, which I call allostasis. The lower limit from 80 has come to 68 and high limit is I shown 180. This is again based on Divyank ratio only. 111 into Divyank, the next stage should be 180. Or 111 minus Divyank should be 68. But we know very well 180 milligram is the renal threshold value. Right up to 180 milligram blood sugar, you will not see sugar in urine at all. And it can still be maintained with the lifestyle changes. You cut short on sugar, do more exercise, more intellectual work, more physical work, more emotional work. The sugar will be used it up by neurons. This is again something which I want to bring it clear. 100 trillion cells use it. But as far as 100 billion neuron cells are concerned, they can use only glucose and fructose along with oxygen required. If you do intellectual work, you can consume glucose much more than you can consume by the other cells. That's also something which I want. We human beings are not just physical activity people. We are intelligent beings. We are intuitively buddhi, intelligent, super fast. We can do wonders. And as a result, very intelligent people who want to do very effectively, they can even have much more sweets without worrying about it because they consume it. But they should only when they do intellectual work. They should not take it otherwise. Now we're coming to the next stage which I want everyone to understand is the pathostasis, problematic state. When blood sugar comes down to 42, you are literally in a stage to go die. That is too low. Hypoglycemia can make you unconscious by and large. That's the time you really need to take treatment. You need to be given glucose, normal saline and water to revive you. And that is what I said. Akash Ganga was brought. Those suspended people were in a dehydrated state. There was salt, no water or very less water, very less glucose, and they had to be given amrit. That's required. But when you go to the higher side, 291 milligram is also pathetic. Now you are in a very diabetic state. And I've let this diabetes mellitus. Why it's called diabetes mellitus? Mellitus means sweet. Your urine has become sweet. Diabetes mellitus means urine has become sweet. And that requires treatment. Because your body is not able to produce the kind of insulin which is required. People might call it insulin resistance, whatever, but I still feel what is more important is the lifestyle and also to take care. If that is done, I think I'm sure. But aging and diabetes can be reversed with diabetic diet or Divyank diet or vegetarian diet of the highest order with a perfect amount of carbohydrate at 61.8%, then almost 25-26% of proteins and remaining as lipids, not as fat. I am not in favor of animal fat being consumed. We should take fruits, seeds, and more of a lipid, then we should take fat. If with that kind of changes, we can avoid diabetes, we can avoid almost all the diseases. And that is the perfect life stages which Brahmins were using it, taking vegetarian diet. And I can tell you why as a vegetarian, I have been taking it. I have no problem with vegetarian. I have no diabetes because Brahmins are supposed to be very intelligent. They use it up for intellectual work because brain uses glucose plus oxygen, and if you are doing intellectual work, then diabetes will not touch you. So that's the reason sattvic food for vegetarian, for Brahmins who are intelligent, academicians, researchers, otherwise is not a problem. If they are not, that means they are not doing physical exercise, they are not doing intellectual work. But I can tell you from my experience, I use quite a lot and I have no issue at all, although my brothers and sisters have this problem. Now let's move on to the next stage. Now, synthesis of fatty acids in plant is something which I would like to show, but I'm not going to concentrate much because prime focus is only photosynthesis for carbohydrate. But one thing which I want to make sure, one point which I want every student to know, every person to know, that carbohydrate one can give 4 kilocalories, 1 gram of protein can give 4 kilocalories. What 1 gram of lipid, fatty acids, can give you 9 calories. That means 2.25 times more. Why? But the concentration which I want to show everybody is carbohydrate and lipid formula is same. Fat formula is same. But only difference is oxygen has been removed from the formula of CH2O. To oxygen is only 2, where C and H2 remain same. And because oxygen has been taken out, it becomes lipids. And they will have only 2 oxygen, not the corresponding which we do expect. That is something which I want. And why did nature take out oxygen? Because the process was to produce more ATP through beta oxidation. It is oxygen which is going to be taken by the cells to burn fatty acid to produce more ATP. And that's why you have 2.25 times more energy. That oxygen is removed, put oxygen. That is one point which I want everybody to understand. How does nature actually play? I don't want hodgepodge business. I want wisdom of the highest order, which is not seen in the book. But I want to produce because I have seen all that. And that is the reason why we get extra ATP from lipids and fats, more than carbohydrate and protein. That's the one point which I thought I should display in this for wisdom of the highest order. Now, in this particular, as I told you, produce 2.2 times more ATP than glucose and proteins. And this is a formula again of 10 stages. And on the other side, I've talked about heart functions from second month till we die without any problem. And we have no pain as long as there is no heart attack. The reason is cardiac muscles by and large use fatty acids for energy, not glucose. They do not produce lactic acid and pyruvic acid in the heart. They use only fatty acids, produce ATP to keep the heart going all the time. That's one side which I made it very clear. Skeletal muscles live on glucose primarily for energy, produce lactic acid and pyruvic acid, can create pain and can lead to problems. Smooth muscles can use glucose, but they don't have that much. But heart has to work from beginning till end continuously without any stop. And then you use only fatty acid. That is also something which I want everybody to understand. Heart, cardiac muscles use fatty acids. As a result, they do not produce lactic acid except in heart attack where there is an infarction. Let's forget about it. We talk about the perfect one. On the other side, I have given the formula, fatty acid formulas. You see lauric acid, mystic acid. You can see OO, O2, O2 everywhere. But carbon can be 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 18, etc. Has a corresponding number of hydrogen, more or less the same thing, except in few issues you can see in this. The last one is not corresponding one, but most of the thing is more or less, but there is not much of a difference. But O2 is only 2 and oxygen has been taken out. And how that session is, FAD stays to FAD2, oxidation 1, then second thing goes up, then produce acetylcholine. That is something which I want everybody to understand, the real beauty in the process of beta oxidation fatty acids. Oxygen is being taken at oxidation 1 oxidation to produce more of energy, and that's it. Now, synthesis of nitrogen is something which I want also to understand, because now we are introducing into fourth element of proteins. Carbohydrate, oxygen and nitrogen comes after carbohydrate. CHO is done. CHON. So now I am making it very clear. Nitrogen is nothing but carbon plus hydrogen. That is primarily. And all the volcanic activity released water vapors. Steam in water vapor condenses in time after cooling on Earth to form oceans, and nitrogen probably released by volcanoes which gradually built up in the atmosphere because it is unreactive element. And nitrogen was formed in thunders from water to produce ammonia. It came down ammonia, and from ammonia only the whole plant kingdom's production of protein started, by and large. That is also something which I want everybody to understand. This is a beautiful cycle, and how we can understand ammonia in integrated way. And ammonia plays important role in bringing down nitrogen. And as I told you, Earth also had 97% carbon dioxide. Now you have nitrogen 78% and oxygen 21%. This is also with that. And this nitrogen is required for making proteins, amino acids, which are the building blocks of the human body and all the animal beings. So you are preparing ground in the form of nitrogen, and that's why we have nitrogen in the process, which comes down as ammonia. Is a beautiful divine design, and that is the design. If you understand, then your perfection in knowledge, it will be impeccable wisdom and no confusion whatsoever. Now in the plant kingdom, you can see synthesis of amino acids in plants. You can see nitrogen second on one side, how it takes place, how with the rain is coming down as nitrogen as amino acids, how plants are taking it to produce it, and cows are also producing it and releasing it, amino acid, things like that. How this particular cycle goes on in the plant kingdom is very clearly given. I will not talk much about it. I leave it to you. Read initially or read the book, but keep in mind Divyank and Akhandita in the process. Now next stage comes is the DNA. Now you have carbon, hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen. Then comes a phosphate to come to picture to produce DNA. And I have shown how DNA is produced. It is 10.3441, not what Watson and Crick talked about DNA. The model which I have created of DNA is slightly modified, where the width is 21, each strand is 22, and then 10.344 is the perfect model. And many more beautiful things about DNA I have explained in my topic on DNA. Read that and then understand this, how beautiful is the nature to design production of amino acids, and then amino acids to produce proteins as a building block for all the muscles and everything in the body, so that we could be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and human being. That's one thing which is very clear. Now I'm going to take it to the next stage of molecules. Adenosine monophosphate, and then you have ADP, ATP. The three things are put together. Formula is very, very clear. And here again in the formula, you can see carbon, you can see hydrogen, you can see nitrogen, you can see phosphorus. But the combination in such a way, you have the combination which you can see Divyank by and large. And particularly, I have shown in this particular thing, ATP has Divyank, ADP has more or less same thing of 22 by 21. AMP has the reverse of Divyank. And that is also a beautiful thing in this particular picture for anyone to understand how nature plays a role to design something which is absolutely essential. Now from that, let me take you to bring into combination to the A2 milk. Is the conversion of glucose into lactose in A2 cow, and that is much more beneficial than you have cow A1 from other animals. That is something which I want everybody to understand. Now, what are the advantages of A2 Kamadhenu cow or the Indian cows? Because this integrated health and regeneration is ensured, anti-aging and strong teeth, bones, improve muscles and physical body, improves mind, strength, intellectual, and also relieves fatigue, stress, and skin aura. It improves your divine auspiciousness. It brings you close to spiritual integration. That's what I'm talking about. We had something called cow milk people. They are part, I call it a part of vegetarian diet. Although it comes from animal, but is as good as mother's milk. As simple as that. It is specially designed, and you can concentrate on that. You can convert glucose into lactose and done with it. Now I'll bring one more point. Starch is converted into maltose, and maltose is converted to glucose plus glucose. So starch is not a very good source of protein because it can only produce glucose, glucose and glucose. Whereas fructose is better. Then you have lactose, you have sucrose, but those things can give you a much better balanced combination than refined sugar by and large. That is also something which I want everybody to understand, how to use carbohydrate effectively to be healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. Now I am bringing a new element of Ayurveda, how Ayurveda teaches how to use perfectly. And I'm not going to go into detail. The first thing I'll say, Purusharth means Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha. All our life should be based on truth, righteousness. All our arthik, we should be based on that. And all the desires should be what is required. We are going to get freedom from everything. That is something which I'm talking about, is the main objective of Ayurveda, is to lead a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise life without any problem. And there are different kinds of food sources. I'm going to talk about it. Now you have three gunas, which are three doshas. Sattvic food, which is Brahmins use it. It is pure diet with a pure vegetarian and leads to kapha dosha. That means they produce more of mucus. Mucous membrane is more because you're concentrating more on the brain, in the facial nerve, and that's it. And it is very nice, much more beneficial than anything. It's very close to almost nirgun. Rajasic is with non-vegetarian other diet, but it can produce pitta dosh. As a result, liver can get damaged and you will have more problem in the process. And it is associated with earth and air. First one is water and earth. Then tamasic guna can make you large. It is sour and stale taste. It can produce a pain, bones in joints and other things. And it is associated by dry, light, air, rough and joint pains by and large. That is something which should be avoided. Nirgun and nirdosh mean you should create a life of not kapha completely, not rajasic, not tamasic, not any of those things, but kapha with a little touch of rajasic ingredients to bring the kapha out. You can lead a perfect nirgun life, no problem. You can do physical birth, emotional birth, intellectual work, and be into the universal consciousness with nirgun without any nirdosh whatsoever. If you can do that, you are truly in tune with universal consciousness, and in that process, no scope for alcohol, smoking, drinking, anything can put sympathetic system into the picture. No, that's it. And this particular picture is the combination of panchkoshas and three doshas, water, earth, fire, element on one side, and the combination of ether and air is Vat, fire and water is Pit, water and Apa is Kapha. Is very clear. That knowledge can help you to understand things much better. But now I am taking you to one stage, making it very clear. Nature has provided autonomic nervous system which made of sympathetic system and parasympathetic. And prime function of parasympathetic system is rest, digest, conserve energy. We should be focused on parasympathetic by and large and not on sympathetic, because sympathetic is to mobilize energy for fast actions. It should come to a play role only when there is a need for it. If we keep homeostatic states of blood sugar, oxygen, all the things, homeostatic perfectly normal, sympathetic will not come to play. We should have a process or parasympathetic going on which will keep us calm, quiet, non-violent and in tune with universal consciousness. This is something which and design of sympathetic system is according to Divyak. Design of Sacral parasympathy is also Divyang. This is most beauty on Divyang one part. That's it. Now, based on that, we come to the last slide, and here I would say there are 10 chakras which make an important complete part. Ida, Pingala, Sushmana Nadis, and everything. Once we understand that we are in tune with universal consciousness, carbohydrate food without any astringent, any nature, can make us something. And as an individual, if I have been able to give Divyang for the first time in the history of mankind, and also Khandita once say, and converting everything into symbol form once again, is only because I'm a pure vegetarian. I do not smoke, I do not drink, I don't do anything which is unnatural. What are part of a normal physiological activity, I follow that. As a result, all the 10 chakras I taught it, my autonomic nervous system is fine, my endocrine system is fine, all the 100 trillion cells are fine, whole brain is fine, and as a result, I can produce in 8 hertz free throughout the brain with eyes open, which no one has done it. So I think all the things which I've done is primarily because I'm a pure vegetarian. I'm Brahmin from in every way. And I think we all human beings can be Brahmin once we decide to become that. And that's it. I think that should be enough for everybody. Thank you very much. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you.